Welcome back to the workbench, and we're still working on the Monogram model from 1995, the Dale Earnhardt car. Still trying to get this finished up. If you missed any of the previous episodes, make sure to go back, check out the playlist. You can get caught up via the playlist. But what we need to do now is finish up this front suspension. We've basically got a full chassis going here. We got to finish up the front suspension. If you remember right, we kind of did a little special fix-up job on this lower radiator hose, but I think it turned out not too bad. Looks pretty good. But now what I think we decided, if I remember right yesterday, what we decided was we'd put in the upper radiator hose. We also need to do the shocks and then this oil cooler lines. I think we're going to put in the lower arms first because that's going to orient where our shocks need to go. So I think we'll kind of skip some steps. Oh, we also obviously put in the bottom radiator hose. That was a special job there. But so I think we need to put in these lower arms first, because then that's going to orient where our shocks need to mount. So let's do that first. I have everything already painted up. I do think I am going to go back. It is hard to find undercarriage shots of NASCAR cars. I have no idea what color these spindles should be. Like we had mentioned, I don't have the wheels and tires for this, so this was an incomplete kit when I bought it. I didn't realize that, I don't think, when I bought it, but it is. So we don't have wheels and tires. So these spindles are going to be showing. I think I will end up going back and painting these still. Haven't made that decision just yet. But anyways, if anybody out there knows what color these are, I know the arms, the control arms, are black. I did find a picture of those. Those are painted black, but I don't think the spindles would be. I don't know. But let me go ahead and get these glued in. I'm going to start by, let's dry fit. So we've got these 4 connection points right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. So we make the connection there, and then they actually they connect to the upper arms also. So we need to make, so up here, the upper A arms, the spindles sit right in there. And then this, what I assume is an anti-sway bar, sits here in these little mounts, or whatever you want to call that. Okay, so we've literally got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points that we need to connect this, which can get a little complicated because you want to make sure they all fit square. We got to get this nice and squared up. Now, one thing we don't have to worry about, and I mentioned this in the last episode, there's no coilovers. So there's literally places to put coilovers here. There should be coilovers here, on the real car there would be, but in the kit there's not. It's not that they're missing. There's literally nothing showing to put coilovers in, so I find that very weird. But let me go ahead and clean up some of these mounting holes here so we can get some good glue up. I think here, let me make sure and not break these off also while I'm at it. Here we got the 4 here, just trying to scrape out some of the paint in these holes. We've got these little guys here. Yeah, and then I'll just kind of pull a little bit of paint. Oh, I think I might switch. You gotta be so careful. I think I just broke loose our upper radiator hose. I did, so I'm gonna have to be careful with that. Not a big deal. It didn't actually break the hose. It just kind of broke loose. That's why you always have to pay attention where your fingers are and where you're holding things when you do this kind of stuff. Okay. Okay, and I think that's going to work for us as far as all 8 of our mounting spots. Now I need to clean up some of this too, get the red paint off the end of my X-Acto. So just real quickly, you just need a little spot for paint adherence. And I'm going to go around on the outsides of these little pegs as to where I'm pulling the paint off from. And basically that'll be our glue up spots, these nice flat surfaces here on the A-arms. And then the pegs just kind of get you where you need to be. They align you, if that makes sense. And then where did these sit? Pretty much right here. So I'm going to pull a little paint off. These, I don't mind doing this because it's black underneath. You're never going to notice that if I over scrape a little bit, you're never going to notice it. Okay. Now, the way I think I'll do the paint, or do the glue, I should say, is one with a fresh new. I've been using paper clips to kind of pinpoint where I want to put my glue, just because it's what I have at hand. Where did my glue go? Again, using the Starbond medium stuff here. If you want to try out some Starbond for yourself, be sure to check the description down below. I've got a discount for you. But let me what I'm going to do, just put a little there, and just each one of these spots here. And I put it in the hole, even though it's not necessarily where the glue up point's going to be. But it basically, it'll squish out into where the glue up spot is going to be, if that makes sense. And I'm going to get all 8 points so that we get this nice and attached. Let me make sure there we go. And there we go. And now comes the chore of trying to make all 8 of those connections all at the same time. I'm kind of putting it in on the driver's side here, and then I'll kind of rock it over. I think this is my game plan. Rock this over to the passenger side. And again, this is an old model. The kit is actually from '95. I kind of talked about this in every episode so far. These kits, these older kits, they sit around in attics and in garages and in basements and in who knows where. And they heat up and cool down and heat up and cool down. I've almost got this. I just lost the upper radiator hose, but that's okay. We'll put it back in. And then through all that heat, just through the years, essentially, they will lose their shape. And you can tell, like, this has kind of lost its shape. I'm having to really flex it into position to where it needs to go. I'm going to have to hold this by hand. I'm having to use both by hand, so I can't even grab the accelerator if I wanted to. So I'll just hold this as we tell a story. Yeah, this is, an older kit. So they flex out of shape, and you got to make sure every step of the way that I've been building this, I've been trying to make sure everything's getting square where it needs to be. It's very important, even if it is out of shape, to pull it back square, if that makes sense. But let me hold this just a second. It usually takes 30 seconds or so, but I'm going to hold it just for a bit to make sure. I'm also double checking where it looks like we have hit all 8 of our mounting points. Yeah, I think we're going to be good. Let me carefully. I'm always scared that it's going to come falling off. Yeah, our upper radiator hose I squeezed it and it busted off, but that's all right. We can glue that back in place. Not a big deal. Okay, we'll let that sit just a second. I don't want to disturb it while it glues up. We haven't used any accelerator. I kind of hate, I don't know if I can actually spray with accelerator now. You won't even get to it. It won't help anything. But now what we need to do, once this kind of dries up, we'll flip it back over, and we're going to put in our upper, what are they calling this? They're just calling a shock assembly. So we have an upper shock assembly. I think I mentioned last episode, I did find some pictures of this car, or of one of, it's not exactly this car because it had, some of the sponsors were a little different. But it was a '95 Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo car. I did find some pictures of it. So it's one of the cars from that year. And it did, the shocks were aluminum like this, the color they say to paint. They were actually Bilstein aluminum shocks, or at least aluminum bodied shocks. So that is accurate. So I left that the correct color. So we need to mount those in, and then we'll also mount in these oil cooler lines, which they say to just color, or to paint rust. This is literally the closest color I had to rust. I think it's a pretty decent color. I went ahead and painted, I'm guessing what is the oil cooler itself, flat black. It had a couple little straps on there. I painted them flat black just to give a little bit of detail. Just trying to add as many details as I can as we go along, and trying to make it somewhat accurate. But anyways, I think we should be glued up here. Yeah. Now, before we put in the shocks, we do have to put this radiator hose back in because it goes underneath the shock assembly. So let me get it back in place turn it this way so I can see where we're going. Actually, you know what? I'll just put the glue on here on the hose. Let me make sure I can get a drop on there. There we go. And then on this side also that goes to the water neck or the thermostat housing or whatever it goes to on this motor. And then where's my tweezers? I found this when we put them in the first time. This was the best way I could do it. So with some tweezers, kind of plug into, there's a little hole in the radiator up top, and then it kind of just sits right here into, well, and it lost it. That's what I didn't want to do. I try not to get the glue all over everything. Okay, let's try one more time. Upper hole, come on. Upper hole, maybe I can kind of hold it. Get over there. We had it before. We can do it again. Right there. Okay, perfect. Now the problem is trying to keep, with CA glue, you need to give a little pressure. So I'm going to try to give a little pressure on the motor, on the block here. I think that'll glue in for us. I think that's going to be okay. All right, making progress. Again, adding all those little details like the AN fittings. And I mentioned this last episode. I went and checked those pictures, and this was kind of the colors of the AN fittings that were used. It's a little strange the way the moldings are, but it works. I don't know. It gives the impression. This guy now, we got to see, how does this orient? So these little nubs, tabs, pegs, whatever, they go to the back, and it's going to sit in right in these notches. There's notches right there. And of course, the shock bodies go on the outside of the frame rails, which this is really tight. And where do they meet? Where do the shocks meet the control arms or the, yeah, let's see. Well, let's just see where they naturally lie. I'm not sure. I think they're supposed to aim back. I remember looking at it in the let me show you what I'm talking about. I looked at some pictures of this, and the shocks actually angle back like that. So I think that's where they go. They could just, I guess we're just going to kind of bring them in right back here, give the impression of them attaching back there like that. Okay, so what I need to do, now this is fitting tight. I'm going to have to, just like I've mentioned a few times, especially it was this frame rail, it had kind of flexed open through the years. So we are going to have to kind of squeeze this guy in there. So let me make sure and clean up these mounting points really well, because we're going to have to get good glue contact, I think, in here. Let me see if I can very carefully get some glue out of there. Or not glue, but the paint out of there, I should say. See if I can do this without removing a thumbprint along with the paint. Okay. And then they're going to sit, let me see how that's, so I need to, the glue point is actually on the inside of these pegs here. It is those pegs, yeah. So I'm going to get the paint off of the inside where the contact's going to be made. So we get plastic to plastic contact. Like so. I'm just scraping it off with the tip of my X-Acto. Now we'll have to drop a little bit of glue just right down in each of those notches. And I don't want it to go too much, because it will, if you overglue it, will haze up the paint. Now I've been touching up the paint with the red, so it's not that big a deal. But I want to limit it if I can, or eliminate any overgluing, I guess you would say, if I can. But I also want to make sure we do actually have a little blob of glue in there to make the connection. All right, now let's see. Yeah, these guys go to the back. Let's see if we can do this. It's really wanting, I think I'm going to make these glue spots, glue this up first here, and then make sure, yeah, it's going straight back there. And then if I need to add glue to the bottom of the shocks, I'll do that afterwards. But let me hold these in place just a second. I don't think I have anything I can set on this, because I'm actually having to, it's flexing in to make this happen, these frame rails are kind of flexing in. And then, so if I let go, it'll just probably shoot this thing straight up in the air. So I want to hold this for a good bit with some pressure to get that glue connection. Hopefully I got those little notches cleaned up enough. Obviously, if I'm just gluing the paint right now, when I let go, it's just going to pop the paint loose because you're using whatever the adherence factor of the paint is, not the glue itself, not CA glue. So let me see. Let me just keep holding this. And you can see why we had to put in the upper radiator hose first, as it runs underneath. I mean, I guess we could probably slide it underneath there, but that doesn't make any sense to me. And I think it does make sense. It did make sense to put those bottom A-arms in first, or that arm assembly below first, because now I know exactly how to set. If I had done this first, I have no idea where these shocks would be locating down on the lower A-arms, if that makes sense. I'm going to let go. I'm terrified it's just going to come shooting off like a spring. Let me double check and make sure that looks pretty good, I think. They look the same on both sides. It can't go any lower because it's literally sitting on that radiator hose. So I think that's how it should be. Can you guys see how that's sitting in there? I think I'm just going to leave the bottom shocks as they are for now until that upper side. Like, I'll give it a good bit of time to really dry up and adhere. So I'm just going to leave it just like that. And what I want to do now is see how this sits in. I know it sits, yeah, towards the back like this. So we've got two little, these are actually the oil cooler radiators, I guess they are. I guess this little black guy here is probably the pump that pumps it through. The hoses kind of sit right. There's two little connection points. I don't know what you want to call them. So let's see how that's going to sit. And again, I try to dry fit everything, sometimes excessively, trying to make sure it fits. But see how this is not. We're having to really I'm having to pull it out to make it contact, because this upper part of this frame rail is actually flexed out a little bit. I think we talked about that yesterday, but it's not far enough to cause a problem. But what I think I am going to do for this is I'm going to glue this side first, let it glue up. Did I sand these? I thought I did. No, I didn't. I'm going to glue this side first, let it glue up, and then flex it over to that other side to make that connection, instead of trying to get it to all four of them to mount at the same time, if that makes sense. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. What I'm going to do first, though, I'm going to go ahead and sand these glue up surfaces. Here we go. Sand these nice and flat and get the paint off of them like so. And I'm going to do both sides. I think that's going to work all right for us. So we're kind of, again, killing two birds with one stone. We're make sure these gluing surfaces are nice and flat and removing the paint. This is kind of tight in here, so I think I'm going to pull the paint off of these with my X-Acto. Now, there's actually, so you can see there, maybe you can't see, but I've removed the black, but now there's red underneath it. So I got to make sure and get on through that red paint too, and actually just kind of turn it black again. And there we go. Now it's black again, which means now I'm down to the black plastic. So it's going to go black to red to black. Kind of makes it easy to know where you're at as far as scraping this off. I think that's going to work. I'm going to try to go ahead and get both sides. Kind of hard for me to see. I try to keep it in frame for you guys, and it makes it a little bit hard for me to see. I end up guessing a little bit. It is, I have definitely learned it's much harder to build a model on camera than just kind of on a table where you can move it around wherever you want and do the things you need to do. I think, so you can see all the paint that's flicking off on the paper there, but I think that's got us pretty good. I think that's what I can tell. Yep. Okay. So again, I think I'm gonna glue this side up first, and I think I'll just touch the glue right there and there. My glue is starting to really gel up on me, which is okay. Well, maybe it's not. It's a little too much. Let me grab some new glue. again, you can put the Starbond glue comes with all these tips you can use. The really fine tips. Let me pull it out so you can see in case you haven't seen me show this. They come with these really fine tips you can use to pinpoint. But I come back and forth to the glue so much that it would just gum them up. So this is why I like doing it this way. But if you got a bunch of glue up spots you're going to do all at the same time, definitely just pull out one of those tips. They're very fine. You pop, hit all those spots you need to hit, and then you just throw the tip out. So again, let me just do this side first, so I know it's nice and aligned and right where it needs to be. I need to get this side close. I don't want to be way off. Okay, that's actually holding right in place there. I'm going to give it just a little bit of pressure. Again, just a little bit of pressure for about 30 seconds and then let go. Now, again, you could use, and I have, just so you know, in between episodes, there has been time I've been using accelerator. I think there's been a few times on camera that I used accelerator. And you can do that. I try to limit it because it really hazes the stuff up. But there's two things. So one, I could put glue on one surface, accelerate on the other, and then the minute it touches, it's stuck. But I'm not that good. I need a little time. I need a little leeway. I need to be able to adjust. So I'm going to let that dry up real quick right now. And then we'll come back and glue up this other side in just 2 seconds here once that gets nice and glued up. And that's the last piece, for the entire chassis. That'll have the entire chassis. And what we talked about yesterday, what I think we're going to do is actually start weathering up this chassis. I'm going to get this side glued up, and then with the time we have left, we're going to weather it up. Now, my plan is, what I want to do, you saw me do the motor, and if you didn't, go back to the playlist. It's episode 2. We weathered up the motor. As you can see, let me bring it a little closer. We have a nice clean chassis, and then this super dirty motor in there. Right, because this is supposed to be, just as a reminder, this is going to be a post-raced car, kind of back in the garage. Because I don't have the wheels and tires, I think I'm going to do either buy or make or get some jack stands that can sit on, like the wheels and tires are off, and I guess obviously the brakes are off too. But the point being is, it's post-race, so it's going to be dirty. It's not going to be nice and clean. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to just give a black wash underneath here. Just to give some dirt and grime and to make it kind of match the motor on the undercarriage. But what I really want to do, what I really think will give it the effect, is I want to put some rubber up in these wheel wells. So that just the little rubber marbles that get built up in the wheel wells. And I've been trying to figure out how we're going to do that. And I have an idea. We're going to do it together. We're going to see if it even works. It might turn into a huge mess. I don't know. But let me get this other side glued up. And then I think we're going to try to do that. I think we'll just work on, with the time we have left, I'm going to just work on these back rear wheel wells. I'll give a nice black wash to them, and then we'll try to do the rubber effect I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and glue up this other side here real quick. Hopefully that's glued up on the first side. I don't know. But I kind of want to get it. I just kind of want to get it done so we can move forward with what I was talking about. Let's see here. Let's just give pressure here. Yeah, I think it's making contact there. Yeah, that seemed to glue up on the driver's side. Let me hold that just a second. And so my idea, how I think we're going to try to do this rubber effect is, I have this. I don't know if you can see what's in here. This is some stuff I made up previously. It's basically all it is white glue and landscape flocking. So the flocking you use to do like landscapes on dioramas and whatnot. And it's just mixed in with white glue so that you can. I was using it to make moss. I actually used it. I did some Halloween gravestones, and I used it to do the moths. When I was repainting the gravestones, I used it as the moss on the gravestones. But my thought is, if I take some of that, we'll mix it in with some black paint, probably some semi-gloss. I actually have some Citadel airbrush black paint, which has a little bit more of a sheen. We'll mix the two together. We'll see what color it makes. This is green. Is the only problem. I'm hoping the black will turn it black, and then we can kind of marble it up. We can kind of get a good crumple out of it. And while the paint's wet, apply it under there to the wheel well and give the effect that that's some rubber that's come off the tires and the track and whatnot up into the wheel wells. We'll see how it works. If it works out, I'll use it elsewhere on the car also. But let's get this. Let's see. Are we glued here? Are you glued? I think so. Yeah, I think we're okay. So what I'm going to do, well, first of all, show you guys kind of the final look of the chassis. Looks pretty good. I think it looks all right. I'll go in and probably touch up some little pieces of paint where I'm saying, oh, I missed here, I missed there. These chrome pieces, they scratch real easy, so I'm just going to put a little paint back. Like I can see it, just a touch of the chrome coming through the fan shroud there. That fan shroud was chrome. I don't know. That's the way Monogram does it. So I'll touch some of that stuff up. But for the most part, chassis is done. Now it's the fun part with the chassis. Let's go and flip it over. Let me grab, I have some black wash somewhere. Here we go. And what I think I'll use, I've been using this guy for some paints. I think this will work for washes. Give it a good shake. It's been sitting a while. And this is just Vallejo. It's Game Wash, black wash. I have a whole set of wash. You can make your own washes. I've done that in the past. I've repainted a werewolf for Halloween, a big animatronic werewolf. I think it's like 11 foot tall. It's just huge. So I made a huge, I don't know where it's, you know what? I loaned it to a friend. I have a huge jar of black wash that I made, and you can just use acrylic paint, essentially acrylic paint, water, and some dish soap for viscosity, and you can make your own big old thing of wash, which I did, but I just thought about it. I loaned it out to a buddy who was using it for a project he was doing. So we'll just use this Vallejo stuff, the professional stuff here. And all I want to do with this is I'm just going to give a wash underneath here just to give a dirty black. And mainly, can you guys see what I'm doing? Okay. Mainly, I wanted to just get into these crevices. So what a lot of times you can just kind of touch it and you touch it and it'll just vein down into the body lines, the crevices and the body lines, which is mainly what I want to do. But I do want to leave just some dirtiness too. These washes will always dry. You got to keep this in mind. They dry lighter than when you put them on. So you want to apply them just a little darker than what you want. Now, with that said, you can definitely go overboard. I am very known to go overboard. Let me go ahead. I'm going to do this upper surface here too. You can kind of see. The main thing is I want to get it in these body lines. They do make, in fact, I have some here. It's the gray. They make panel line accent colors. You see the guys that do airplanes a lot use this to bring out the lines and the wings and whatnot. They do make this in black. I don't have any. I have it in gray, but that's not what we want. But essentially all that is a wash with a little brush. It's a little bit thinner wash so that it really flows. But this works just fine. And if you feel like you've applied it too much, just grab a rag. And what I like to do in this case is dab it like this, and that'll give it. I don't want to smear because I don't want it to be like it's like a smeared look. I want like a just a dirty, grimy look, and that'll give it a little bit of a texture. Now, what I'll end up doing is doing this for the whole underside, and it'll make the whole underside of this chassis just look dirty. But I think the real, let me make sure I got all of this because I am going to try to, we'll just do this one. Let me get the frame rails a little bit. We are going to just do this one side. I think it's probably all we'll have time for. And then in between episodes, I'll kind of finish it up. Do the other one in between episodes and the rest of the black washing and whatnot. I just wanted you guys to get to see at least one of them done here. Make sure I get in those lines real good, real well. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. So can you kind of see, hopefully let me get down in the light a little better. You can see the comparison between the two. Nice and clean, brand new, nice and clean, real well. Kind of dirtied up. Let me get in the light as best I can for you. Dirtied up real well. Now, what I want to do is put mainly on, I would think, on the back side here, right? You're going to be throwing, you'd probably be throwing most of your rubber back here. probably, and in front maybe some too, a little bit lighter. But right back, oh, you can't even see where I'm pointing. Sorry. So right back here, I want to give a buildup of some rubber, probably out the back here too a little bit. So it kind of, again, I actually went on the Google machine and tried to get pictures of a post-race NASCAR. You can't find them. And I think you can't find them mainly because they don't want people, through the years, you didn't want to post pictures of your car and give away your tech, I guess. But I couldn't find anything. I was like, looking for how does it look? I don't know. So we're just going to make it up, right? We're just going to make this up. So let's do that starting with an old McDonald's barbecue cup container. Dude, guys, keep these things. You can see I use bottle caps. I keep these little containers, just wash them out. Because what I'm going to use this for, I'm going to pull some of this goop that I made, and you'll get a better look at it now. Let me pull it out with this spoon. Here we go. And I kept the lid on it to keep it wet. It is actually wet. And basically, like I said, all this is, I think you guys can probably see it. All this is some of the green flocking you use to make dioramas with, and it's been mixed with paint. That's how I made, not mixed with paint, I'm sorry, mixed with like white glue, Elmer's glue. And that's how I just made moss. You can see that it would easily, if I smeared this across here, it starts to easily look like moss on something, right? But what I'm going to do now is dump it in here, like so. I'm going to grab my rag to clean my finger up now, because I don't want green on everything. I'll even clean the spoon a little bit. And what I think I'm going to do is take, some of the Citadel black paint. We'll see. I have no idea what this is going to do. I'm going to try to just kind of dump some of it in here. I have no idea how much. Let's just start with that. One dollop. What do I have I can mix this with? Do I have some? I didn't even think about this. Do I have a stick? I guess I can I'll just use the butt end of the spoon here. Now, let me see if I can, what I want to do is not only mix it with the paint, but kind of ball it up into little bitty balls if I can. It's kind of gray black. I mean, that might be a good thing. I don't know. What do we? I mean, it's pretty. It's actually kind of green black. I don't know if I can. I don't want it to get too wet. I don't know. Do we like that color? Is the question. Can you guys see it? I mean, it's pretty black. There's the color on the spoon. It's got still a bit of a green hue to it. Interestingly, because I put quite a bit of black in that. I don't want to thin it out too much, but I think I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more black. Just to see if I can get a little blacker. I don't want it to be the same color black as the black I've been using on the model already. I would actually like to be a little different so that it makes it look like it came from a different location, the tires. We don't have tires, so you can't really compare the colors because it would obviously be the same color as that. I guess other than it would be picking up dirt and grime, I guess, off the road also. So let's just see what this ends up looking like. And the other thing I forgot I need to find is an old paintbrush. I usually have some laying around. I don't know if I have one laying around. I kind of forgot to grab an old paintbrush because what I can use isn't just an old paintbrush that I'm never going to use again to apply this with, to kind of dab it with. Let me get this out of the way. Let me see. Do I have something laying around on this table? What did I do with them? I know I had some brushes. I think I might have gave them all to my daughter. She uses them with her little projects. I don't know if I have anything laying around. So what could I use? I wonder if no, you know what? I really need a paintbrush that I can use. I could have swore I had one laying here. What are we going to do? How are we going to do this? I don't really want to use one of my good brushes, but I think this all should clean up. Where's this brush? I'll use this guy here, which is the worst of my good brushes. And what I think I'm going to do, I want to try to get I want to try to get some of that lumpiness. I don't want just paint. There we go. And I want to just try to now what I think I'm going to do, because it's a little too much. It's too much. So I'm going to clean the brush. And can you guys see? It's a little too much, I think. Can I get some of that off of there now? I think so. Yeah, like that. Just keep kind of cleaning the brush, and then I might just kind of smear that out that side. I wish it was a little lumpier. Like some of that. That's the hard part, is to get the lumpiness into it, the actual texture. There we go. That's starting to do it. Okay. Just kind of all in this area. And then I think what I'll do, let me clean my brush back up. Trying to just dry the brush out, because I want to get, again, it's getting a little too much. So I'll just kind of work that in and around. I think dabbing is the way to do it, like that. I don't know. What do we think about that so far? Can you guys see? The lighting is so bad. Let's see. I wish my lighting was better. Hopefully you can kind of see what we've got going so far. But now what I want to do, so it's got a little texture to it. It's definitely very splotty looking. But now what I think I want to do, I think the color's okay too. Not too, like, you don't really see it doesn't look green to me. But what I do want to do, I want to just have a build up. Let me see if I can let me just kind of scoop some of it up. And I want to just have like a build up of this stuff right kind of here in the corner and on this ledge here. Can you see that? So I'm trying to make sure you guys can see. I'm looking up at the camera up here, the screen on the camera, to make sure you guys can kind of see. I kind of like that. I'm going to pull it down, just kind of place it where I want it now. And it's just kind of like a build up. I don't want it there. Yeah, just a build up of rubber is the idea. You know, I can go back, I can let this dry. And I think I am. I'm going to let this dry. And I might paint just dab a little black over top of a lot of this. Let me get some color in there. I just want good buildup. Yeah, like that. Yeah, I can actually do the wash again too if I needed to. But I like how it's like some rubber's kind of built up back in there. Maybe he won the race and he did some burnouts, you know. Let me move that down. I'm just kind of spreading it down. The texture, spread it down. Yeah, I like how that actually looks pretty good. Okay, let me make sure you guys can kind of see what's going on here. I'm just going to kind of move it around. Hopefully the light catches it for you, where you can kind of see. I think I'll take pictures of it and add them at the end here also. And then what I think I'm going to do, I'll do the other side. Yeah, in fact, that's what I will do. I'm going to let this dry. I might add a little black paint to it. And then I'll take some pictures and add those at the end, because I can take close-up pictures and they just come out better than the video. Let me clean this brush up because I don't want this brush to ruin. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you think. Did it work out? Do you like how it looks? Or let me know after you see the photos at the end. I think it's going to look pretty cool. Anyways, thanks for joining me. We're actually almost at time. I'm almost out of memory space on my camera here, so we're going to have to go. But I appreciate you joining me. I'll get this all touched up. And then actually next time we get together, we'll start working on the body, because there's a lot of stuff we're going to have to do to the body of this car too. It's going to get smudged up and whatnot also. So stick around for the photos here at the end. Leave me those comments down below. Like and subscribe if you would, due to all those YouTube things you do. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.